Hey, everybody. My name is Andy Gallimore, and I'm the president and CRO of Flowolf. And I'm here to talk to you today about our new offering called AssessNow, your quantifiable path to value. Um, we wanted to talk to you about this just to kind of get it out in the network and make sure people are aware. We do see in our experience with ServiceNow that there's a lot of implementations out there and a lot of people that have the platform that had great intentions. However, they didn't fully unlock the power of what ServiceNow was driving for them. So our goal here is in this offering is to really do a couple different things. Looking at this particular slide, you can see we start out with vision, and then we go to assess, and then we focus on those outcomes. But our whole focus here is we don't want to simply understand minute changes that you might want to make to the platform or need to make to the platform. But we also want to understand your vision, right? Because we want to make sure that you're marching toward a target. And by doing that, by establishing a vision, looking at your goals, your objectives, your outcomes that you desire, and then also taking a deeper dive into your system and your operation today with functions like your catalog, your users, your fulfillers, looking at security and cost and performance. We want to make sure that we're diving into the strategy and the tactics and making sure that we come up with a plan that includes both and gets you on the path to success with ServiceNow. So we'll talk a little bit about the vision and the assess kind of stages, looking at how we do the visioning, making sure that we've got an understanding of how do we get an underutilized platform humming again, right? How do we understand where you are looking to use the platform, looking at the forward-looking things of capabilities that maybe you haven't deployed that you need to deploy? Where's some value on the shelf that you're already paying for that you didn't deploy? And maybe where are there some things that you need to redeploy or you've gotten some bad feedback on or something of that nature that we need to dive into. But it's extremely important for various reasons. But most importantly, that you're maximizing what you are paying for already, and making sure that you've got a good user experience so that adoption is high. So how that works in our vision portion of this assessment is really diving into your licensing, diving into your known needs, and making sure that we've got a functional value estimation that we can understand. How many times is this happening? How much does that cost you every time it does happen? And really diving into the details of what that looks like so that we can understand the value and the return on the investment that you could have if you make changes or tweaks or things of that nature. When we dive into the estimation backlog, we lay out a plan. We leverage a methodology that I've been doing. I've been doing this particular vision session, vision planning now for about 13 years, ever since I started on the ServiceNow platform and was a platform owner as a client. And I've been able to kind of utilize this same methodology with my clients and found great success with it. So we go through, we review and understand the cost estimates with regard to how do we get you where you need to go, and then lay out that prioritized plan with regards to a value over cost view. Now, why is that important? Value over cost is essentially an equation that's going to tell you how do you get return on your investment quickly. And that's really the power of this particular methodology, is driving to getting that value that you can start reporting back. And then that value then propagates more investment and more understanding of what the power of the platform can do for you at your organization. And then after we lay out that plan, we come back together, we do the readout, and we make sure that we've got any concessions or things of that nature that we need to tweak. But essentially, and what I've found from this particular portion of planning is that we're about 95% accurate. There's always the 5% that is a special project that, regardless of maybe the return on the investment or something of that nature, it's going to need to happen. It's already been decided to happen. But pretty proud of the 95% accuracy that the math equation really drives to our client base. So once we get through the visioning and we kind of work through that, in parallel, we also have the deeper dive assessment function. Now, This is important when we really look at what Gartner says in reference to licensing consumption. It's a sad reality that our customers, not just in the ServiceNow space, but are underutilizing at least 30% of unconsumed license for software licenses. ServiceNow is no exception to that. I see it every day with clients that are they purchase certain things that they never deploy. Something happens, best intentions, but they're then now paying for something that they're not getting value out of. So we want to help make sure that we're looking at your platform holistically and in detail. How are you using it? What are you using so that we can make sure that we can help you optimize that? We leverage a WAR framework, a well-architected review framework that really focuses on operational excellence, performance optimization, cost optimization, and security. We want to make sure that we're driving the most out of your platform in these categories, helping you not necessarily, and in some cases, we may be able to reduce your costing, especially when it comes to support costs or things of that nature. But also, how do we reinvest that cost into things that you're going to get value out of, as opposed to value sitting on a shelf always? So we go through a very similar process that we would cover in the vision session, but we do pre-planning, understanding the goals. We'll make sure we won't duplicate from the vision goals and things of that nature. But then we're going to run through the WAR framework. We're going to collect data both manually and in an automated fashion, leveraging predictive intelligence. And don't be afraid if you don't own predictive intelligence. There are some ways that we can still get that data. ServiceNow has some offerings themselves that we will leverage as well, and then some of our own proprietary data collection that we would would go through. Then we're going to go through that data analytics, and we're going to understand really what are you trying to do, what are you doing well, diving deep into those processes to make sure that we can understand that, and then come back with that recommendation and that readout that's unified with your vision readout. From a deliverables perspective, our focus is really to get you the assessment supporting information. Data is power, they say. We want to make sure that we not only gather that data, but we provide that data to you. We put together that gap analysis to understand what you're not doing that you maybe should be doing that aligns to your vision. We're going to understand your licensing, consumption, review that data, and make sure that we are able to help you make sure that you're ready for true ups and things of that nature during your licensing cycles. We're also going to go and look at those recommendations. Now, the recommendations are going to be broken out in a couple different fashions from an employee perspective. How is adoption? Are people using the platform? It's really hard to get call deflection and ticket deflection if people aren't using the system and they're making phone calls and they're doing things that are driving away from self-service. So how do we showcase that you're able to either increase your user consumption for self-service or automation, so on and so forth. From a process perspective, we like to call something, we've seen it, been in process improvement for a really long time. And we've seen a lot of what we call fake work, a lot of processes or steps in processes that are arduous or just not even necessary. They're CYA steps and things of that nature. We want to get rid of the fake work. We want to make sure that the process is streamlined. We want to make sure that it's effective and it's a good user experience. How do we consolidate? How do we automate? And then from a technology standpoint, do we make sure that you're using the platform appropriately? Are you consuming it the way that it is going to maximize that return for you? And then what does your data ingest and integration? ServiceNow is one of the most integrated platforms out there. So we want to make sure that we've got a focus on what does that look like in that landscape and then lay out that plan. These are some of the commonly identified issues and outcomes that are out there. This is a sliver of the impacts that we see, but just to kind of show just some basic things. I won't read this slide to you, but lacking knowledge content and underutilized catalog. These are very, very common things. Unmanaged licensing is definitely something. People don't even sometimes know what licensing they actually own. And there are items in there that might be legacy to your system that you could take advantage of. I've had that happen in numerous occasions. So these are just a couple examples of kind of some of the outputs and backlog items that then can come out of that assessment, but not limited to. And then finally, from a timing perspective, it really is about a 4-week engagement. With that kind of 5th week, really looking through and talking to you about what that plan forward is, showing the deliverables, and making sure that we wrap things up in a nice, tidy little bow so that you can then make decisions. From a decision-making perspective, it's, hey, do you want to move forward with that plan? Do you want to adjust that plan? And then do you want to build that, execute that plan internally? Do you want to leverage a partner, a third party? In some cases, companies, they have that internal support and they don't need that third party, but they do need a plan. So we want to make sure we can bridge the gap for all of those facets of your organization and experience. So that is the Assess Now, and I just wanted to take a few moments to make sure that you all knew that that is available to you, and we look forward to working with you and helping you on your ServiceNow journey.